Hi. 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 Can everybody hear me okay? I'm sort of soft-spoken, so I feel like I'm totally shouting right now. Welcome, everybody. I'm Melissa, and I'm the curator of museum education here at PAM. Welcome to the Fredi, Schiff, Levin lecture series, which is graciously sponsored by the Levin family. Now, in its 22nd season, the lecture series honors Fredi, Schiff, Levin's legacy as a member of the Provincetown arts community by inviting artists, curators, authors, and scholars to speak at PAM. We are grateful to the Levin family for their continued support of this annual program. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we are excited to welcome Joe Diggs. Welcome. Joe Diggs is a practicing artist, curator, and educator with generational roots in Cape Cod. The inspirations for his paintings range freely from realistic depictions of African American history to personal family memories, from plein air landscapes to gestural abstractions, and from large canvas murals to miniature works on cardboard. Although stylistically diverse, Diggs' artworks are closely united by a celebration of texture, color, and form. Based on Cape Cod, Joe Diggs' artworks are housed in numerous private collections, both nationally and internationally. Joe Diggs is represented by Berta Walker Gallery here in Provincetown. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Hello. How's everybody today? Great. Thank you so much for coming. They don't really leave you a space for this, so let's figure this out as we go along. There we go. All right. Wow. It's very interesting. I mean, we're amongst friends and family now. Yeah, it's really, really, really wonderful. Thank you guys for making the trip today. First of all, thanks to this spot right here, right? PAM is just an incredible museum, and Chrissy and all the staff, everybody, I just want to thank you all right away and just say, it was a pleasure working with you. So a lot of times when you think about places that you dream about showing, you never think that it would really happen. But I'm the one. It happens. It does come true, and my dreams came true. So this is going to be a lot of fun for me to go through my evolving circles with you guys. So it did take a lot of people for the show to happen. I want to make sure that they're recognized. Of course, Berta Walker was very, very important for all these possibilities. Of course, I wouldn't be here in front of you if it wasn't for Grace Hopkins. Grace single-handedly made me visible to you guys. So I really thank her from the bottom of my heart for all of the hard work and effort that she put forward just for me to have this moment. Unfortunately, neither one of them are here today. Grace's daughter Gigi had her first day at school, so I'm sure she's got to go through her own personal changes. And Berta called me on the way in today and said, I'm not feeling 100%, so I might not make it. So we'll forgive both of them for that, and we'll just keep on trucking. I told her I can hold it. I can hold it all down. So I'm going to do the best that I can in the situation. But it would be nice to have them here tonight, okay? But besides them, I'd have to go back a little bit more and to tell you about a few other people. Through my whole career, there's been people who have pushed the career forward for me, even though I wasn't sure that that's what they were doing, and not that I even felt that I was worthy of the push that they gave me. But with that, I just want to thank them all. I mean, from elementary school, actually high school teachers up. I've got one of my professors at grad school here today, so that means a lot. I thank you all. I just thank all of you guys. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have this opportunity. And this is what I've been growing for forever. So really, it's really important. With all that said, let's go into this evolving circles. The reason why we call it evolving circles is that for some reason in my life, everything seems to come 360. The old friends become new friends again, and things keep flipping into other opportunities that you think, well, this isn't going anywhere, and then all of a sudden it opens up into a whole nother spectrum, a whole nother opportunity for everybody involved. So the evolving part was, we thought about the circles, the 360 being the connection, of course, but we thought about it either ascending. Of course, you never want to think about your career or your life descending, even though I am getting a little older and I'm starting to feel the descension. But the truth of it all is with the art, you're thinking forward and trying to actually layer it upward instead of anywhere else. So I was really, really fortunate to have Seth Rodney write an essay for me. Jen Dragon from Cross Contemporary Projects of New York introduced me to Seth Rodney and said, wouldn't it be great if he'd write in your catalog? For those of you who don't know who Seth is, he's an international writer. He's written for Hyperallergic and for New York Times and a few other major art publicities. And he's just one of those kind of guys. He's really down to earth and Jamaican born. So he had a different flair to even how he approaches his work, which I really appreciate. But he is someone we should pay attention to. And I guess that is in the core of what I'm going to talk about today. There's a lot of artists that I appreciated. I've learned to appreciate as I've gotten older, that they weren't in the purview of most of us. Guys like Jack Whitten, who, if we don't know who Jack is, you should know who Jack is. So then they became a very big part of my career, of understanding my career. But also, guys who just passed away, like Raymond Saunders, Dana Chandler. They're all African American artists, but more importantly, they're African American artists that did move the bar. And so, so I think that overall, that we all, because we pay attention to Richter, we should definitely pay attention to Whitten. So. This is a painting. It's actually, this photograph was taken in process. It has moved on a little bit, and actually, if none of my paintings are sold, they're my paintings still, so I paint on them until they go out the door. Sometimes it's good, a lot of times it's real bad, but you lose a few, that's part of it. So this is a painting of my brother Craig. I have an older brother. He's still with me, though he's deep in my heart. He passed away at 19 years old. I was 16, and he was not only kind of the leader of the family, but he was kind of just an alpha male. He just liked to tease a lot. He was a big-time athlete, and this piece is called I Dare You, and it's because he would love for you to say something about him eating watermelon so he could whoop your butt. So in this idea of watermelons and traditionally kind of things that we don't talk about, which I think now is the most important time to talk about so that we can go from where we are now to where we need to go in a hurry. We didn't show this piece, but this piece is very, very important. Good friend Dino and his grandson, Run, and myself, and Diane DeBarros, who's back there, we all decided to take a trip to Martha's Vineyard, hung out on Aquina, took the clay from the earth and rubbed it all over ourselves to try to indoctrinate this young man into the history of of the shoulders of the people that he was standing on. And with that, this painting reflects not only of 4th of July, because that is what the time was, is when, because Martha's Vineyard was one of the first places where African Americans could buy homes, which was a huge part of financial independence. But more importantly, the circles are from James Byrd Jr. I don't know if you are familiar with James Byrd Jr. He was the guy who got dragged to death in Jasper, Texas. So my statement that I'm saying here is, I'm proud to be an American, but we have a lot of problems, and I'll never forget the hate that's being pushed towards us, and especially the hate that this poor man went through. You'll see more about him as we go along. So then there's this part of our history that I enjoy so much. This is my grandmother was a seamstress, and as a seamstress, she used to always tell us about, big ladies shouldn't wear this, and little ladies shouldn't wear that, you shouldn't wear prints, and that's a little too high-waisted for her because she's big-breasted, and now her breasts are hanging over top of her. So we went through the whole thing, and which I thought was fabulous. But she always said big ladies shouldn't wear prints. Well, this is Large Marge. That's what we called her. Her name is Marge, and Marge wore whatever she wanted to wear, however she wanted to wear it, but she wore it with style and with grace. And so I just couldn't walk past having the opportunity of painting her in this type of situation. So this piece is here at the museum, and this piece means an awful lot to me. This is I was fortunate enough. My grandfather owned a bar called Joe's Twin Villa. The bar itself is no longer around. We closed in 2008. I was fortunate enough to be able to run it for 8 years, which was fantastic. And I painted this painting in thoughts of, we used to have a jar of pickled ham hocks up next to the bar. It was very much a throwback to the old juke joints. And so we had pickled eggs, pickled ham hocks, Slim Jims, and a few other little items. And at the end of the night, there was always somebody who would say, give me one of those ham hocks. And they didn't really know what they were dealing with. They just kind of, drunks can do some crazy things, So, but we'd pull it out, and it became a joke. It became a this, it became that. And then one day I decided, after listening to Weepin' Willie play blues on a Sunday night, I decided, what happens if a ham hock decided to play the piano as a blues guy? So that's him singing away with the gold tooth, just having at it. And then you'll see there's some drunk people hanging off the bar over there on the side and kind of passed out. Originally, I had him on a full rack of ribs, playing the full rack, but I thought that was a little overkill, and I kind of killed that, pushed it back a little bit. But I do appreciate the kid who's drunk and his face is just smashed into the bar on the far side over there. So, as I said, my grandfather, Joe Gomes, who was my step-grandfather, I've been blessed enough to be named after the man. He was probably the greatest man who ever walked the earth. I don't care what anybody else thinks that way, because it's the truth. He left us with an abundance of opportunities, which, can't speak highly enough about that. One of the things he left us, he gave me an opportunity to buy this piece of property. It's on Micah's Pond. I'm the third generation to run it. 6 cottages on about a 2-acre parcel, and it's in the end of the woods, back in the woods in this little town of Osterville, and it's magical, it's beautiful, it's just a wonderful place to call home. So I was painting this painting. This is my view out of my studio, right out of the studio, and I was painting this painting, and at one point I said, I'm just going to let all the spirits just come through. Whoever wants to come and visit, I'm going to have them visit, and if they show up, I'm going to embellish them a little bit more, so I'm going to show them off, and we're going to do our thing. And Mara Williams, who's the curator of the show, she had called me that day about something. I said, yeah, I'm doing this painting. I just really enjoy it. And then I said, I'm going to put it online. And she goes, okay. And I put it online, and then she called me as soon as she saw it, and she said, take it offline because I just bought it. So a little close-up of one of the spirits coming through, So as I spoke about Joe's Twin Village, it was probably the greatest job I've ever had next to painting. Of course, my art practice has always been first and foremost in a really weird way. Because we know that, I grew up at least with the idea that no artists ever make money whatsoever. And so far that's kind of true. But on the other side of it, I was working the bar because my grandfather used to always say, this is going to be for you and you kids sometime. And I never kind of really believed him, but I always believed him, but I didn't believe it was going to actually happen. That's the truth. I believed out of his mouth that he was telling me the truth, but I didn't think that somehow somebody was going to mess it up and I wasn't going to have this opportunity. Well, I had the opportunity, and it was a fantastic opportunity. We had celebrities from who's who and what's what. The Kennedys were a regular. We had football players on one side, hockey players on the other side, and then we had the regular street people who would come in, Hyannis would be represented. We had everybody from dark to light. We had princes. We kicked a prince out of the place because he was acting like an ass. And the guy says to me, he's got his own money. I'm like, yep, he can go too. So I painted this painting after losing Joe's. We had to give it the Viking ceremony and let Joe's kind of just drift away at sea, let it, at the same time kind of praise it, but at the same time try to find a way to let it go. So just another, that's just another little, the spirits popping back through just to make sure I'm all right. And then let's go back to the pond again. So in my world of patterns, as you can see now, there's a spot of organicness that I appreciate. So there's a landscape part of painting that I very much appreciate. But there's also patterns and geometric shapes that I think I see them come together. Like this, the light coming through the window affects me just as much as looking at you guys. So I would try to find a way to incorporate these structural items to come into the piece. So at some point, I just started saying, I'm going to start, instead of using these separately, I'm just going to start bringing them all together and just kind of find where they lie and see if we can make some kind of heads or tails out of the spaces that these geometric patterns are giving me. So this one isn't overly geometric in its pattern, but this one, I started using the more negative spaces between the trees and developing them as patterns themselves, and then just coming up with a color pattern, or really kind of a color understanding of the emotion that I'm trying to let go. So a lot of these have to do with music. I play music all the time when I'm painting, and whatever that song is kind of reflects back to the tune, the colors that I might actually paint. For those of you who have taken my classes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't, I'm sorry, take a class. I mean, that's how it goes, But it's real. It's a real thing that it's an emotional connection that you make with colors that you can make in your visually. So we take those and just move them forward. And then this piece kind of speaks of this. This one is actually dedicated to a friend of mine who passed away. And so the name of it is I Remember You, because I just remember her, and she was a special person in my life. And when she passed, it was like, okay, all right, what are we going to do to get past this? Well, we're going to paint the painting. That's what I do. So that was for her. Back to the pond again, back to those shapes. I happened to, I went to see the Juan de Pereira show at the MoMA, at the Met. And I'm a Velasquez fan. I love his paintings, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then I read about his slave, of course, who painted with him, and I had known but I wanted to see it more in depth. Well, when I got there, I was very much impressed by the whole thing, but what really got me was the colors in which they painted the room in gold and green. It was just, when you walked into the Met, into those rooms, it was royal. And when I went home, instead of taking a painting thought back, I came back with the thought of, I'm painting in gold and green. I just love the royalness of this. I love this, and I want everything to be on that level of richness. And so I came up with this. I went straight to the pond, because the pond's my muse. So gold and green right to the pond. Then there's this piece. I created this piece my senior year at the Fine Art Work Center. And that was 2014, I think it was. And it never got shown. It's never been out of my house until now. And I was so happy that when Mara picked it, I was like, I've always enjoyed this piece. There's some pieces you just don't mind sitting them in the corner and keeping them there. But this wasn't one of them. And I was like, how come when everybody comes through the studio, they don't even look at it. They don't even give it a couple of glances. But she stopped, she looked, and she went, oh, this is the one. So things do happen. This is a little Jack Whitten quote. Like as I said about, I was fortunate enough to meet Mr. Whitten at Brandeis. Went with a couple of art friends of mine. We went up and listened to the lecture. I was actually going to see Mark Bradford, truth being known, right? So, I like that when people are, oh yeah, because Mark's a bad boy. I was fortunate enough to, I was accepted to Cal Arts, and I went out to Cal Arts to check the school out, and this tall 6'4", 6'5" guy came to meet me and said, let's go check out the school, let's talk, and it was Mark. And so we hung out for a day, watched his hoop dress, he had at the time his senior show, he had a LA hoop dress. It was a hoop dress. And he was out playing basketball, taking a video of the hoop dress, falling all over the place. It was hilarious. We laughed, and then I told him, I'm not going here, man. Are you kidding me? Yeah, then I saw him in the ICA the next time. I was like, should have gone there. Should have gone there, buddy. But I'm not complaining. I actually said to him something that made a lot of sense to me at the time. I had just finished paying for my undergrad, and I had the job I was a flight attendant for 15 years. I was flying around. I was actually making some pretty good money for a change, and thought, okay, I just paid for this education. I got accepted to the school. They actually didn't accept me as a graduate right away. They accepted me as a second year, a first year senior, so I was gonna have to go back and give them more money. Now, that didn't make any sense to me, but more importantly, I said to Mark Bradford, I said, you guys don't paint. And he said, well, they're gonna try to push you away from painting, but if you fight hard enough, you can get it back. I'm like, no, I wanna go to the East Coast where people paint. And then like they put the paint on the canvas and then they push it around. That's what I wanna do. I don't even wanna hear this argument. I just wanna paint. And he was like, yeah, you don't need to go here. So I got a chance to meet Jack because I was up having the conversation. I wanted to have the conversation with Mark Bradford. Unfortunately, somebody had passed in his family. He didn't make the lecture. Jack Whitten did the whole thing on his own. And in between, I got a chance to reach out and meet him, shook his hand. He went to, at one point, he went to Tuskegee. I had two uncles that went to Tuskegee. One was a Tuskegee Airman. And so I was telling him about my Uncle Mitchell. He says, I've got your Uncle Mitchell's airplane right in my studio. And those are the 360 moments that I'm talking about when we speak of the evolving circles. So then I leave Jack after, we talked so much that his assistant got in the middle of us and said, that's it, you only got 5 more minutes, you need, whatever. And he gave me the old okey doke, like you go that way, I go this way, and we did that. We went around and we finished the rest of our conversation. It was just wonderful. And then on the way home, I was just beaming. I had my friends Jackie and Richard, and we're driving back from Brandeis, and I just said, let me call Grace up. And I'm like, Grace, I met this great guy, Jack Whitten. And she goes, oh, Jack, he's wonderful. I'm like, okay, you don't know Jack, come on, you cut it out. She's, no, I'm 65, she's 10 years younger than me, and Jack's 20 years older than me. I'm like, you don't know Jack. So we go on, and I just kind of played it like, okay, that's that. And then went back to see him again at BU. And he had his wife, and I said, my friend Grace Hopkins said hello, and she goes, oh, Gracie. I said, Gracie, I still have the Campbell's soup, because she never wanted to eat any of the food that we had around here. Gracie and my daughter, this is my daughter Marcini, they grew up together. As the guys painted, they played. And I was like, oh. So I called her back, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I kind of screwed that one up, didn't I? She's like, yeah, you did. And she goes, I know a lot of people. You should just, if I say I know them, just believe me. So Jack had one thing that he did that I've been holding on to. It's called compression. Compression, for those of you who haven't read his books or anything, it means basically in one brush stroke that you can put all of your life, everything can be connected somehow in this one stroke if you're that connected into this idea of compression. And when you think about it, we are all are only an additive of who we were. So in a way, this is exactly saying that in a very gestural way, right? I mean, you put one line down, you put that line down because of all the information that you've learned in the past. So you are actually compressing all those thoughts and everything within. Then when you're conscious of it, it's almost can give you another approach of understanding. So that's what made him, for me, so incredible. So, and that's what pushed on to this work. So the idea of pattern, I started working on cardboard, mostly because I'm cheap, also because I wasn't getting paid for any paintings, but really because as a guy living alone, you get Chinese food a lot. And Chinese food comes in separators, and those separators are fabulous to paint on. And they have the logos, they've got the little branding marks on the boxes. So it's almost like it's ready made, and then you can go in and you can elaborate off of whatever. So these are the creations that came from that. And once I started spurring that idea, I went on to like, all right, what would it be like if I worked on sign material? So this is on sign material, and this one is out front. It's on a plastic, a type of plastic that they do make signs out of. And this came through COVID, working through COVID. So, and as you can see, the work got much more controlled in one way and much more frenetic in another way, because it actually is that crazy time when you're sitting around with bored that you say to yourself, okay, I'm just going to keep my hands busy. I'm going to keep my hands busy. And I shouldn't say this, because this one is also the same idea. People would say to me, geez, you worked like a madman on this, didn't you? And it really looks like it, but no, I really didn't. It's how it works is I had a few stencils to work with, and I had these posture pens, the little acrylic pens, paint pens, and really, it really wasn't that much work. It just looks like it is, and that was the cool part. I wanted to see if I could actually get the paintings so stacked with imagery that it kind of exploded on their own, is the idea. Then we go back to the emotional side. As I told you guys about my brother Craig, who died at 19 years old in a car accident, my younger brother Kip named his son Craig, and he died at 20 years old in a car accident. Yeah. So, what do? I know what I do. I paint. So, to the studio we went, came up with this one. Still kind of pains me, but he was a Cape Codder, true Cape Codder. So he looks like an oyster, a crying oyster at that. And I just miss him. So, this piece. Came back from Amsterdam. Flew back, for those of you who've been to Amsterdam, you know how Amsterdam is. So, yeah, we were coming back from one of those cafes, and I saw that guy playing the didgeridoo and said, okay, you're on, you and your dread buddy there. And I started sketching these two guys in the middle of Amsterdam, right in the middle of the square. And when I got home, I was like, okay, what are we going to do with this sketch? And I was like, what we're going to do is we're going to smoke another one, and we're going to paint another one. And that's exactly what you got right there. It was a wonderful experience, and what really happened, this painting opened up a door of some collectors. And when they purchased this piece and I got a chance to deliver it, I get to hang on the wall with Elizabeth Catlett, with Ernie Banks, with Ernie Barnes, we can just go on and on and on with the different artists and they're all artists that I just truly, truly, truly appreciate. So it was really, fortunately, they had to downsize and they moved from their Lexington home, and this one is now housed at the Peabody Essex Museum. So we talked about James Byrd Jr. So this is, after I read that article, this is the piece that I did for James Byrd Jr. So the body parts, as I always said to you guys before, when he got dragged to death, there was just, instead of chalk lining his whole body, they chalk lined little spots, because that's what his body parts were like. It was all stacked on the road. And it was odd, because when I saw them, you know, I was looking at the picture and I could actually see his body kind of come together and float above it. And so I used that symbol to this day. It's part of my, it's a through line that I use. And it came to chalk line ballers, which was the death of African-American baseball players in the league. And I use chalk line for everything now that I feel like something is coming to the end or about to come to the end, so I will chalk line anything. And that goes back to the Fine Art Work Center once again, with me and my buddies drinking late at night, and one of them passed out and we chalk lined him. You know, so when that kind of stuff happens, you know, you realize that it means something and you should use it, so I just use it. God bless him. The part the black part is actually, I brought out a torch and I torched the whole thing. I torched the whole painting underneath, that being symbolic of him being dragged to death and the burn on the asphalt. The yellow was for the cowardice people who did it to him, and then the bottom part of it is my, at that time, well, still, but especially at that time, I was really financially just trying to figure it out, and I was struggling with bills. So I took all the bills I had, I grind them up into the shredder, and then I plastered them on that painting, and said, okay, now all the pains, may all the pains go away. So now we jump from that to this is kind of a recent painting. I was fortunate enough to teach some young men at the DYS program, so Division of Youth Services. They were all incarcerated youth at Nickerson State Park. There were a bunch of wonderful young men. Actually, the thing that was really fantastic about them was that they were just mini-me's, all of them, you know, and they were just, you know, I could relate to everything about them. And they kind of related to me, except for they just thought I was crazy, and I was cool with that, you know. So I was like, all right, you know, since I'm crazy, if you guys listen to me, maybe I can steal a couple of hours out of your day. And trust me, if I can steal 2 days, I'm here twice a week. If I can steal 2 hours out of, that's 4 hours out of your day that you will never, and I can help you get your time to go away quicker. And they looked at me like, you are so full of crap. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you the truth, man. And before it was all over, we'd tell stories, we'd do what we do, and then it'd be like, oh, it's time to go already? And I'm like, yeah, got you. And then the DYS was smart enough to realize that, you know, if we throw some money at these kids, they'll do anything. And so they did. They said, okay, we're going to give you a show once a year at WBZ. So we went up to, so they did a wonderful job, and they put all the kids' work up, and it was up for sale. They all sold at the same price, so nobody could, you know, have a fight or anything over, oh, mine was better than yours. So they all sold at the same price, and it was cool because then they could come home, they could buy, when they got out, they could buy themselves a new pair of shoes or whatever, just so they could kind of matriculate back into the system again, which was important to me because the whole thing I was doing the whole time was just trying to help them survive. So this is my muse again. I'm back at the pond. This is the patterns really starting to find their way in. They're almost in sync with nature, or the gesture of nature that I like. But I also love the fact that I put some foundation with the banister, the baluster, and of my decking, because the patterns in themselves reflect back to the pattern of the decking. So, and this is a theme that I've been pretty much doing for quite some time now. And it's what spurned this. So I was fortunate enough to do a collaboration with Terry Lynn Carrington. This piece is called Waiting Games. This piece is really about the whole album. It's not just about the one song, it's about the whole album of Waiting Games. And so it has to do with injustices, it has to do with, so there's bars, there's segments of things, there's freedom, it's about beauty, but yet it's about the constraints that racism has put on all of us. And notice I did say all of us, because wait until you become free. It's gonna be a beautiful thing when we all become free. So it's a very positive message, but at the same time, it's kind of a realistic, positive message, if you will, you know, so that's how that was done. And since I appreciate music so much, and I go to the Newport Jazz Festival as many times as I can. The last 4, missed this year, but before that, the last 4 years. And this piece is an artist named Loffi. She's a Swedish singer. She sings like a songbird. She is a lullaby master. It was 100 degrees. We were all gummied up. And everybody was wearing, these neon clothes. These neon clothes are out of control now. And the orange, the red, the peach, it's just out of control. So everybody's wearing neon, and they were all passed out. I looked around, and they were all passed out all over the place, and she's just singing her lullabies, and everybody's sleeping away. And I'm drawing away, just going, this is fabulous, look at this. So I come home, and I made this painting, and I wish you guys were there, because this really does feel like it. I mean, they were just, it was a scene. The air was so heavy that it just sat over top of everybody as they snored through her music. That was absolutely beautiful. Ooh, hey, don't go that far. All right, Robert Glassbar. This is actually his whole set, but what I did was, I was playing along with them like I was really in the band. And then I put 2 different drawings together to compose this piece. So it was a set, the sets aren't very long there, so you can kind of, if you hustle, you can get a lot done, but you have to hustle, so that's the rhythm of it. And it's really kind of neat because the 2 pieces are pretty much in the center. So if you were to take this painting and split it and go this way, that's what the drawings were. I actually took the drawings and just went bloop and went, oh, wouldn't that work? And that's Robert Glassbar. This is one of my later pieces that I've been playing with, playing with more texture lately. So this piece is part of that. There's a stacking of the circles, of course, trying to once again represent my fact that I'm thinking that things are moving up. And as they move up, going to try to make more texture, more color, more relationships. I love this narrow space. The narrow space eliminates a lot of, it increases and decreases spatial relationships in a different way than, of course, when you turn it to a landscape. You have that infinity that can go back forever and that, but when you deal with these shallow spaces, it almost eliminates that so much that you're confronted with it. You don't have a chance to really walk in. You have to kind of scoot around things, which is, I don't always want to make it that easy. I mean, it's not that easy for me to make. It shouldn't be that easy for you guys to see. I don't know. That's just me. Yeah. Well, truthfully, though, the painting in the background is called Mardi Gras. And we had a Mardi Gras party at my house, and anybody who was jumped on the painting. I love this part right here. My friend Micah came in with a Burger King crown, and that became the jump off point for the whole painting. So a little another quote from the catalog. Yeah, Emerson, beautiful. And I believe that's the end of it. Thank you. We didn't time this. We didn't actually time this, so I'm not sure if I'm ending it a little short or if I've already gone too long.
Am I on? Oh, there.
There you go.
Do you want to do a little Q&A?
Why not?
Does anybody have any questions?
I hope so, especially if I went short.
And then also,
Help.
if you have a question, you just got to wait for me to give you the microphone so the folks online can hear. Nobody has a question? Really? There you go. Okay. I just got to...
Hello.
Hi.
In addition to this exhibit, you also have a mural on the pier.
Yes.
Can you talk about that one? Because I'm not sure everybody's seen it.
Yes, and I'd like to thank the Provincetown Public Art Foundation for that, for the opportunity to show the mural at the wharf. Yeah, out at McMillan Wharf. So what it is I I had opportunity to, I was hanging out at Herring Cove, and I was listening to Terry's song, and the song was called Pray the Gay Away. And the song's about an experience that she had that a family member told her, you know, like, you just need to pray. You know, Jesus will take care of everything. And she was like, no, what we need to do is we need to pray the hate away. We don't need to pray the gay away. We need to pray the hate away. And so with that, sitting here, it was a beautiful sunset, and I took some photographs of the water, and the water had this multiple color thing going, and it was phonetic, and it was movie, and I was like, ooh, this is the perfect combination, because it kind of flowed so I could write all of the words of the album in it, and then it gave me an opportunity to put a couple of bubbles of my own thoughts. So I used the thoughts that through her album that I had, you know, just about human rights, about some simple things that I think that we all should kind of understand and take to heart. And then also we had a couple of hate things that happened up here. The timing just happened to work out where, you know, where that happened, and I was like, good, we need to, you know, just let's bring it up a notch. But let's bring it up at the same time, kind of calm it down, you know what I mean, if that's possible. So that's where that's at. Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions? No? Yeah. All right.
We're all, what?
Thank you. Oh,
no.
no.
Lucy, did you say no? 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 All right, that's it then. I get to go
Thanks,
and
everybody.
hang out. Thank you. Oh, you know, before Melissa, I should say this. I don't want to, there's one group of people that really should be mentioned. As many of you know, well, first of all, thank you guys, because I know I was a little bit obnoxious with this whole Provincetown thing. My buddy Larry called me up. He said, "You want to go and do this thing?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "The only reason why I thought about it because you're every frickin' place right now, and it's the truth." And you know, between all the magazines and everything else. So thank you guys for letting me be such a major part of this village. But also I've got to really thank, you know, the Arts Foundation of Cape Cod for making me the Cape Cod Artist of the Year this year. I mean, without Julie Wake and all those guys for what they did, I really want to thank them. Thank you. You know, and there's other things that are coming up in the future that I can't wait. And I'm looking to, we got some fun with Bob Ringler coming up. We've got some different things that are happening. So thank you so much for just letting me be a part of your lives, because you guys have been a part of mine now.